The crisis to make crypto millionaires increase this wealth gap dramatically. We're going to break that down in today's video. So we're going to break down a video from the Bank of International Settlements, which is the bank of the world, and the decisions, how they went from cryptocurrency is a fraud to pretty much giving us exact regulation by the end of 2023. Everything's going to radically change from 2024 to 2025. My name is Coach JV. What I do is I make the complex simple. We've helped over 6,800 warriors worldwide with our education academy. We also are licensed insurance agents helping people with infinity banking concept. If you'd like to meet with our wealth protection team and show you how we are allocating our resources as we go into the crypto bull run next year, click the description down below to meet with one of my team members. Remember, we will never proactively DM you. We do not have an investment platform. Those are all scammers. Do not send people money on social media, WhatsApp, or Telegram. Okay, just want to make that very clear. So let's dive right into it. So that's down in the description down below. I'm going to start out with an attitude of gratitude and say I love you guys and I thank you so much for all the kind words and comments. So we're first going to watch this video that came out 13 days ago. Only 621 people have watched this. This is from the Bank of International Settlements, and then I'm going to show you a video about the future of money from the Bank of International Settlements a year ago. Okay, so they're talking about a year ago, the future of money. This is talking about the financial crisis and what we face, basically how the ecosystem looks before we face a financial crisis. And then we're going to go into a video where they're breaking down that by the end of 2023, we're going to have clear global regulation for the cryptocurrency markets. I'm also going to show you about how half of Americans have cashed out their retirement or their 401k and how we're heading into a massive credit crisis, debt crisis, and a monetary crisis by the end of 2023. All right, so let's dive into this first video here. So this is basically on 13 days ago, and this is Bank of International Settlements. This is monetary policy when the central bank shapes the financial market settlements. Check this out.
So just show you a couple pictures. The first one, this is actually sort of a retrospective. This says, if you look at the years before a financial crisis, so the red line here is a financial crisis like the US in 2007, and just ask, what was monetary policy doing in the years before something went bad? It turns out it was easy in the US, and in the whole sample, you tend to see, if you sort of define, here's a crisis, let's look backwards, you tend to see monetary policy was easy in the years before a crisis, and credit to GDP was growing rapidly. Okay, the more difficult thing to do, and again, take this with a grain of salt, but the more difficult thing to do is to say, let's essentially do a forecasting exercise and ask ourselves, if we have a period where, let's say, monetary policy has been in the lowest 20% of ease, or the top 20% of easiness.
So what I want you to think about as he's saying this, think about the credit crisis, the banking crisis, and the bank bail-ins. What they were saying that they knew in 2019 that there was a problem and they did nothing about it. So monetary policy was very loose, very easy because of low interest rates, printing of money. You could finance your way out of problems. But now when everything tightens up, the bond yield inverts, we're in a credit crisis. They see before a crisis that monetary policy is very easy, and then they smash down on policy, which is going to be the back end of 2023.
Monetary policy has been easy. Let's look at sort of the dynamics of the economy over the following years. Okay, and again,
so this is key. It's going to tell you the dynamics of the economy after the following years of moving from loose monetary policies, which we're in, to tight monetary policies.
And it won't be surprising that and this is probability of a crisis is on the vertical axis. So not surprisingly, in the immediate aftermath of easy monetary policy, it's good, right? And so the probability of a crisis is actually subdued relative to its mean. But if you go out sort of 5, 6, 7 years, there's a higher likelihood of a crisis. Okay, again, this is at least the narrative that one would want to tell if you're telling the story I'm telling. Okay, so I don't mean to say this is the final word, but this is the kind of thing you'd want to think about, right? This would make the point that there is a trade-off, because if you do sort of overly easy policy or more easy policy today, you make it's literally implicit in the dots being below and above. You make things better for a time, but potentially at the cost of making them worse down the road.
Okay, so if we look at 2008, 2000, 2006 going to 2007, what happened? There was loose monetary policies. A dog could get a loan for a house, no stated income, very loose monetary policies. Market collapses, BlackRock comes in to balance out the markets, all the banks get bailed out, and by 2012, we had the Obama Rescue Plan, and now we're experiencing really, really loose monetary policies. So you're going to see an immediate tightening of all the policies. You may see some stability for a little bit, but you're going to see the reverberation effect. But what I think is happening, what is so different about this time, just my opinion, just speculation, that's what we're all doing here, is basically speculating that in the future, they're going to transition to a new monetary system because in 2007 to 2008, we were positive gross domestic product to our credit or our debt. We are now negative GDP to debt. We're in a dangerous position. Every single dollar in the system is someone else's debt. So it creates a great scenario for a great reset or a new monetary system, just like this a year ago from the Bank of International Settlements. So this is the future of monetary system. It says, looking at the current crypto turmoil, what are the structural problems with the ecosystem? This was a year ago.
Well, we certainly need to address the financial stability and investor protection issues. But as we say in the chapter, there are deeper structural issues. For example, the role of stablecoins, which are very central in this ecosystem. So it tells us that the whole system is in search of a nominal anchor. So if central bank money didn't exist, it would need to be invented, as it were.
So the system is looking for a nominal anchor key. So central bank digital currencies didn't exist. They would need to come into fruition. This was a year ago. Remember, from this point, FTX collapsed, Celsius collapsed, a stablecoin collapsed, showing that cryptocurrency is a fraud. Now, as we go into 2023, we're going to watch a video from XRP 801 underscore XRP, where he shows us a clip from the BIS. I'm going to show you the actual video where they basically went from cryptocurrency as a fraud to we're going to develop regulatory framework globally around this.
The more serious problem is the fragmentation of the crypto universe, which means that crypto cannot serve the purpose of money in the sense that it doesn't recreate this virtuous circle from greater acceptance to greater use.
So what's the alternative vision? Central banks centered around, outlined by the BIS.
We see it as the fusion of new capabilities around the core of the trust provided by central bank money itself. In the chapter, we used a metaphor of a tree where the range of services provided by banks and other intermediaries are supported by the solid trunk of a tree, which represents the central bank itself. And in this sense, the services, which come from the tree, are rooted, in a figurative sense, in the ultimate settlement on the central bank balance sheet. Well, new capabilities are things like decentralization, smart contracts, and composability, which are the functions that are known in crypto. But what we show is that all of this can be built around the core of central bank money, so that we have the best of both the conventional system, and the new capabilities.
So now you can see why the Ripple case was initiated. America was behind. Other central banks, other monetary systems are moving forward rapidly. One thing I recommend is check out 801 underscore XRP. I've been really paying attention to his content lately. He has some fire content that he puts out. So congratulations, a great job. So we're going to listen to this clip that he put out, and then I'll show you guys the actual video.
Cross-border risks is one that we place a lot of emphasis on. It's an obvious thing to say, they are inherently cross-border businesses. They're radically different from any traditional securities products.
Okay, so now this is important what he just said. He said they're radically different from securities products. What are they saying XRP is? Okay, so he's saying these are radically different from security products, radically different. This is a year later from the video I just showed you. This is the Bank of International Settlements.
Because they systematically have no home market. Their cross-border market is almost invariably their main market. And that's quite unusual. And that means as a regulator, considering giving one of these entities a license, you have to take into account the fact that they are, by definition, trading from your jurisdiction into other jurisdictions as their primary activity with almost no home market.
Okay, so no home market, cross-border payments, Even playing field in the video I showed you on Friday, where she talks about the fact that you must figure domestic out first before you go global. Why do you think they initiated the case against Ripple, the most well-run crypto company? Because they are a global company working to connect everything, and America is really, really far behind.
And that requires very significant additional cooperation between regulators, arguably of a type we've never seen before, to a degree we've never seen before. Certainly, we run a system, which is one of the things we're proudest of, for the exchange of information between regulators to facilitate enforcement actions. And we arrange the exchange of 5,000 to 6,000 pieces of information in 5,000 to 6,000 different cases every year to facilitate that. In relation to crypto, we found many of our members have found it difficult to find a legal basis for exchanging information in relation to crypto cases because of legal uncertainty in their jurisdictions. And we've issued additional recommendations in relation to that. But we think there's going to be more scope and need for innovation in relation to regulatory cooperation to deal with this issue. I'll just emphasize as I come to the end the question of custody and client asset protection. If you look at the business models of a lot of these crypto trading platforms.
So this is important, really important, right? He's saying these are radically different from securities. I will tell you guys, and I'm okay saying this on video, that by 2025 transition to 2027, your banks will custody your crypto.
Critical to them is not to allow or facilitate any third-party custody arrangements, and not to allow any transparency in relation to the character of their custody arrangements. And that runs completely contrary to what I would call one of the core areas in which IOSCO has set out principles. So we set out in some detail how client money should be handled, segregation, disclosure of those arrangements, but also the question of securing client money and assets, question of insolvency, which has become a very significant issue. What happens to the client assets in time periods of insolvency, and does your jurisdiction have appropriate legal arrangements to deal with insolvency and to deal with compensation?
So what I'm hearing them say, let's break this down, okay? This is just my speculation, is basically what they're doing is they're saying, listen, look up master account for the Federal Reserve. If these exchanges don't cooperate with the central banks in their jurisdiction, they're going to have all kinds of enforcement action. Look what's happening right now, guys. So if they don't play the game, if they don't run their money through this monetary system, which is totally against what cryptocurrency was designed for, which was decentralization, right? But this is what the BIS is doing. This is the bank of banks, guys.
Investors in the same way you have a compensation for investors in other areas. I won't say anything on the last two areas, which are operational risk and retail access, because they are quite obvious. But I would just say we are also working on a second document which will extend this analysis into the area of DeFi and actually provide guidance to our members in order to do the same analysis in relation to DeFi, where a lot of additional issues arise. In particular, the question of governance and ensuring that not only does the principle of same activity, same risk, and same regulatory outcome apply for DeFi, but that you can identify and hold responsible key individuals on a cross-border basis who are the people who wrote the software that creates the impact in your jurisdiction. And that, it seems to me, is a huge challenge for all of us to actually achieve that outcome.
So first we resist it, then we sue it, then we regulate it, then we join it. We're now heading into regulation and joining phase. So this is the 2-hour video right here that I watched. Thank you again to 801 XRP. So we're going to watch a little bit more of this video, and then I'm going to break it down for you guys. Oh, give me 1 second. Let me transition over here.
These markets in terms of what they were doing and have been doing, because arguably we're still in that phase or coming to the end of that phase at the moment. So we went through a period of assessment. We produced a number of reports. We produced a report in 2020 on crypto platforms. We produced a report on retail investors, and we produced a report on stablecoin. And then we went on to produce a report, which frankly took some time to do because it is complicated what's happening in this space. We did a report on DeFi. And pulling all that information together, we moved into a new phase of work because it's at that point in time that IOSCO decided that we need to produce recommendations for how crypto should be regulated. And the first step in that was our work with CPMI to produce recommendations in relation to stable coins, and that came out in July 2022. And at the same time, we produced a roadmap promising to deliver global recommendations in relation to how crypto should be regulated when it comes to securities market, and we promised to deliver that by the end of 2023.
Okay, so we went from cryptocurrency as a fraud to promising from the BIS that they will have regulation on how to regulate this by 2023. This, for most people, would be the greatest missed opportunity in living history. I'll just put that on paper here. This is what's happening in your economy, guys. This was November 2021. Half of Americans with retirement accounts have taken out early withdraws. And they said, I think it was 2022, don't quote me on this, but 50% of people tapped into their 401k. Guys, you have to start thinking outside the box in your retirement platform. If you are invested in cryptocurrency, first of all, look at the household debt, guys. This is getting crazy. Household debt and credit report, this is Q1 2022. This isn't even 2023. The household debt and non-household debt was the highest it's ever been. So our banks are over leveraged. Our people are over leveraged. There is no money in the system other than debt. Okay, so we're heading into a crazy monetary system that we've never experienced in our living history personally. Bad policies, a brand new ecosystem coming in. We went from cryptocurrencies of fraud to we're going to have clear regulation by the end of 2023. What do you think is going to happen when they have clear regulation? Institutions are going to start to adopt cryptocurrency. When institutions adopt cryptocurrency and regulation smashes thousands and thousands of cryptocurrency projects, guess what's going to happen? Price appreciation, demand. Okay. So you have to be very, very careful in cryptocurrency. Number one, you need to make sure that you're not focused on pump and dumps and meme coins. You need to focus on real world, intrinsic, real world solved cryptocurrencies. Number one, you need to be diversified outside cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is not your retirement. It's a very speculative asset that you can make a good amount of money in a short amount of time. But rule number one is, what is it? Protect your money. Rule number two is follow rule number one. Okay, a lot of people are going to get very, very wealthy in crypto. They're going to come sliding down the back end without an exit strategy. So make sure you have an exit plan as you go from 2023 into 2024 and then exit in 2024 and where you feel comfortable during the bull run up into 2025. I'm securing mine in Index Universal Life. I'll have a legacy policy. I have my retirement policy and my leverage policy. What is a leverage policy? For me, I'll be using that policy, okay, to leverage if I want to buy more cash generating assets. And the reason why I bring that up is people push back and say, well, the 401k, this and that. Guys, 50% of people cashed out of their 401k or tapped into their retirements. It doesn't matter what your ROI is. That's an indoctrinated feeling. There's not, the wealthy people I mentor don't have 401ks. That is not a retirement plan. That is designed to keep the wealthy rich. The creator of the 401k said, all I did was create a product, I'm paraphrasing, that made Wall Street much wealthier. Guys, we're in a totally different monetary system right now. All I'm sharing with you what I'm doing. I don't know if it'll work for you, but it's worked for me. And so I just want to share with you guys, it's time to educate ourselves, constantly getting into financial education. I always say, prove me wrong. That'll help you prove yourself right. Dive into this information. Study, read things like this. Read Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. It's a really powerful book to really open up your mind and awareness to a new possibility, okay? But remember, rich parents have rich kids. Poor parents have poor kids. And yes, I repeat the same things over and over again because what you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mind. What gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes an unconscious activity. So if you don't change the foundation, you're going to end up in exactly the same situation no matter how much money you have. That's why most lottery winners go broke. And that's why people who run into a large amount of money end up broke within a couple of years because they didn't rewire the foundation. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. Everything's in the description down below of this video. If you need any support or you want to meet with our wealth protection team, you can do a free consultation. We'll see you on the inside. Warriors, rise, get your shit together. Let's go.